to News at 6. I'm Tina Jha. Well, so uncertainty over the NSA level talks between India and Pakistan as both sides accuse each other of violating the UFA statement. Now, with India setting a midnight deadline for Pakistan, the talks now seem very unlikely. That's our top focus this evening. Let's begin with the headlines first. No discussion on Kashmir, no meeting separatists. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj tells Pakistan ahead of NSA level talks scheduled tomorrow, tells Pakistan to take it or leave it. Kashmiri separatist leader detained on arrival in New Delhi purportedly to meet Pakistan NSA Sajjad Shah. Restrictions imposed on movement of Kashmiri separatists in the capital. North and South Korea hold top-level talks amid growing tension in the peninsula. The North had threatened strong military action if the South did not stop border loudspeaker broadcast. And India on top at the end of day 3 of the second test against Sri Lanka. Amit Mishra slices through the Lankan lower order to bowl the hosts out for 306 in their first innings. Well, the IndoPak NSA level talks scheduled to be held on Sunday and Monday are in a limbo, with both sides refusing to blink first. Even as Pakistan said it is ready for talks, but India must be open to an agenda that includes discussions on Kashmir. India retaliated by saying that the agenda for the talks can be nothing but terror. India has said that all other outstanding issues, including Kashmir, can wait and talks on these can be held at a later date.
कि भारत बिल्कुल भागना नहीं चाहता, लेकिन भारत वो माहौल बनाना चाहता है जिसमें वो बातचीत हो सके.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj putting the ball squarely in Pakistan's court. With this, India has made it clear that if the NSA level talks do not take place as scheduled on the 23rd and 24th of August, then it will be Pakistan's fault, not India's. Earlier in the day, Pakistan said it would not come for the talks if there were any preconditions. Clear indications there that it wanted the talks to focus on more than terror and include the Kashmir issue.
On my part, I'm still prepared to go to New Delhi for NSA talks without any preconditions.
भारत कोई प्रीकंडीशन नहीं लगा रहा सरताज साहब, आप आने को तैयार हैं तो हम भी बुलाने को तैयार हैं, लेकिन हम बिना कोई शर्त, हम कोई शर्त नहीं लगा रहे, हम केवल आपको याद दिला रहे हैं कि तीसरा पक्ष कोई ना हो. ये शिमला समझौते में आपने भी माना है और बातचीत केवल आतंकवाद पर हो, ये उफा में हमारे दोनों प्रधानमंत्रियों ने माना है.
The dark cloud came over the NSA level talks when Pakistan invited Kashmir separatists ahead of the talks with India. Pakistan says it wants the talks to focus on all outstanding issues.
उफा में ये तय हुआ कि जो बाकी बातचीत है, ऑल आउटस्टैंडिंग इश्यूज इंक्लूडिंग कश्मीर, उसमें एक बाधा बनी हुई है आतंक और हिंसा. तो आइए पहले आतंक और हिंसा पे बात करके उसको खत्म कर लें, फिर आउटस्टैंडिंग इश्यूज इंक्लूडिंग जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पे बात कर लेंगे.
India also took the opportunity to remind Pakistan that the agenda for these talks had been set in UFA when the prime ministers of the two countries met on the sidelines of the SCO summit. The two leaders had agreed for talks at 3 levels: between the NSAs, between the DG of BSF and Pakistan Rangers, and the DGMOs.
प्रधानमंत्री नवाज शरीफ ने ये मन बना लिया कि इससे बचने के लिए कुछ ऐसा करना चाहिए कि एनएसए लेवल टॉक्स ना हो. हमने 1 महीने का नोटिस दिया, वो 22 दिन तक उसको लेकर बैठे रहे. 14 अगस्त को उन्होंने हमें जवाब भेजा और उस जवाब के साथ ही एक एजेंडा भेज दिया, जिस एजेंडा में आतंकवाद से आगे बढ़ करके वो सारी बातें जो कंपोजिट डायलॉग में होती हैं, वो सारी उसमें उन्होंने रख दी.
India also alleges that Pakistan's insistence on including Kashmir in the talks are a complete distortion of what was discussed between the two prime ministers. Last year, India had cancelled Foreign Secretary level talks after Pakistan remained adamant about a similar consultation with Kashmiri separatists. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in a fresh twist, Kashmiri separatist leader Sajjad Shah has been placed under house arrest. He was detained today as he arrived at the New Delhi airport. He will not be allowed to meet Pakistan's National Security Advisor Sajjad Shah tomorrow when a meeting had been planned. Here's a report.
शाम को पाकिस्तान हाउस में रिसेप्शन है और उसमें सरताज अजीज साहब और बाकी जो भी लोग हैं उनके साथ मुलाकात होगी। अगर बात नहीं करेंगे तो दूरियां कैसे खत्म हो जाएंगी, गलतफहमियां कैसे दूर हो जाए।
Shabbir Shah of the separatist faction of the Hurriyat conference as he left Srinagar this morning for New Delhi. Shah even cited the previous Pak presidential visits during the Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh regimes, but the government in Delhi had different plans. As soon as Shah and his entourage deplaned, Central Security Agencies and Delhi police escorted him and 2 associates to a South Delhi guest house. They are to be detained there till the Pak NSA leaves India. Ahead of the talks, separatist leaders have been told of restrictions on their movement in the capital. Political parties across the board have come out strongly against Pakistan seeking to meet Kashmiri separatists. Analysts have termed it a clear effort by Pakistan to derail the process.
पाकिस्तान का ये कहना कि विदेश मंत्रालय जो है भारत का वो कोई प्री कंडीशन नहीं लगा सकता, प्री कंडीशन तो पाकिस्तान ने लगाई है कि हमको आप हुर्रियत से मिलने दें, नहीं तो हम बात नहीं करेंगे आपसे। पाकिस्तान का रवैया वो स्पॉइलर वाला रहा, इन टॉक्स को या इस प्रोसेस को साबोटाज करने वाला रहा, जो हमको उफा के बाद से नजर आ रहा है। तो फिर ये प्रोसेस आगे अभी नहीं बढ़ेगा।
As per the joint statement after a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Nawaz Sharif at Ufa, India and Pakistan had decided on NSA-level talks on terrorism with no mention of Kashmir. Strong domestic criticism of Nawaz Sharif after the Ufa meeting is believed to be behind Pakistan harping on Kashmir again. India now takes strong steps to keep separatists out of the picture. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So after many days of uncertainty, we saw today External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj making it clear that India is very firm on 2 positions. First, no third party is going to be involved in talks. The third party here referring to the Hurriyat conference. And the second, that the talks will squarely be related only to terror and the other outstanding issues can be taken up at a later date. Joining us for more on the story is Akhilesh Suman. Akhilesh, both sides throwing the ball in each other's court. Now, with India setting the deadline, midnight deadline for Pakistan, what do you think happens next?
Actually, Tina, deadline is not the most important issue. Most important issue is the question of Hurriyat. And I asked the question that whether you are changing the track of foreign policy of India towards Pakistan, because Pakistanis are telling that there has been tradition that whenever Pakistani high officials are coming, they used to meet Hurriyat people. So Sushma Swaraj clearly told that those meetings were not before any significant talks. And that is why we are thinking, like Indian government is thinking, that a meeting before the talk is tantamount to including Hurriyat as a third party in between India and Pakistan. And this is the reason that why India is skeptic that is going in contravention of the Simla Samjhauta that was held between India and Pakistan long ago. Tina.
Also, Akhilesh, here we are seeing a difference of perception on what the UFA statement was. India says it did not want to rake up the Kashmir issue at the NSA level talks. Pakistan says it mentioned at number 3 in the agreement list, it was that both countries would take up the outstanding issues, which includes Kashmir.
No, this was not the issue. I myself was in Ufa when Foreign Secretary of both India and Pakistan briefed the press. And it was really surprising for all the media people present there. They were not expecting both the foreign secretaries at the same pace on this issue. The issue was mainly only of terrorism and security. And terrorism was the issue that in NSA level talk, it will be the first NSA level talk, then DG level talk, and then DGMO level talk. So it was decided that in NS level talk, the terror will be the issue, and after the terror issue is talked about, then DG of BSF and the Pakistani Rangers, and then DGMO of both the armies will meet. So this was the issue in the UFA, this was the sentiment of UFA, this was the lines written in UFA, and what Mr. Sajjad Shah is telling, he is not telling, I think, the true picture that was in UFA.
Yeah. All right, Akhilesh. So now with the ball now finally in Pakistan's court, we'll have to wait and watch and see what Pakistan's stand is going to be. We'll keep getting you that story in our subsequent bulletins. Meanwhile, India now has fresh evidence suggesting that underworld don Dawood Ibrahim is in Karachi in Pakistan. Ahead of NSA-level talks scheduled tomorrow, India has asked Pakistan to hand over the man wanted for the 1993 Mumbai blast. Newspaper reports indicate that Indian security agencies have new evidence on Dawood operating from a posh neighborhood in Karachi.
A telephone bill issued in the name of Mehjabeen Sheikh, the wife of Dawood Ibrahim, dated April 2015. The address on the bill is D13, Block 4, Karachi Development Authority, Clifton. It was issued by the Pakistan Telecommunications Company Limited. And that's not all. Indian security agencies have also documents around Dawood's passport issued from Karachi, which has his recent image, clean-shaven with a receding hairline. Two new pieces of irrefutable evidence nailing Pakistan's lie on the 1993 Mumbai blast kingpin not hiding in its territory. Once again, India has asked Pakistan to hand him over.
ये तो इंटरनेशनल सीक्रेट है. दाऊद इब्राहिम वहाँ पाकिस्तान में रह रहे, पाकिस्तान उनको प्रोत्साहन दे रहे और मदद कर रहे, दुनिया भर में सबको मालूम है. मगर पाकिस्तान हमेशा झूठ बताते रहा और इसको डिनाई करते रहा. आज सबूत के साथ दुनिया के सामने रख रहे. इसको देखने के बाद कम से कम पाकिस्तान थोड़ा रियलाइज करके उनको भारत को हैंडओवर करना चाहिए.
But is enough actually being done to bring Dawood to India to have him extradited and punished?
Question is, what are you going to do with the evidence? Pakistan is not going to hand over Dawood Ibrahim to you. So do you have the ability and the capacity to get Dawood Ibrahim himself, yourself? That's the $1 million question.
ये जो डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस भारत ने प्रोड्यूस किया है, ये मेरे ख्याल काफ़ी है पाकिस्तान को इंडाइट करने के लिए. लेकिन क्या पाकिस्तान इसको मानेगा या इसके ऊपर कोई एक्शन लेगा? और जो वो दुहाई देता है दुनिया भर में कि हम दहशतगर्दी के खिलाफ हैं, उसके सबसे बड़े विक्टिम्स हैं, क्या पाकिस्तान इस तरह के दहशतगर्द को फिर भी संरक्षण देते रहेगा?
Dawood Ibrahim is wanted in India for the 1993 serial bomb blasts in Mumbai, which killed 257 people and injured 1,000 others. He is also accused of masterminding other terror attacks and of money laundering and extortion. For Sunday's India-Pak NSA level talks, another issue that's expected to get a strong mention. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In some other national news, former Telecom Minister A. Rajya has said that the disproportionate assets case filed against him by the CBI is legally flawed and inconsistent. Speaking to reporters today in Chennai, Rajya said that the false case against him is politically motivated. The CBI had registered a disproportionate assets case against A. Rajya and 16 others, including Rajya's wife, alleging that the former telecom minister had amassed assets worth 27 crores 92 lakhs while he was a minister in the UPA government.
சென்னையிலே இருக்கிற சிபிஐ மீண்டும் ஒரு வழக்கை சொத்து குவிப்பு இருப்பதாக வழக்கு தொடுத்திருப்பது மிகுந்த ஆச்சரியத்தையும் சட்ட முரண்பாடையும் கொண்டதாக இருக்கின்றது. இது சட்டப்படி நிலைக்கத்தக்கதல்ல. சென்னை சிபிஐ உடனடியாக டெல்லி சிபிஐயில் இருக்கின்ற எல்லா ஆவணங்களையும் பரிசீலித்து முடிவெடுக்க வேண்டும் என்று இன்று ஒரு கடிதத்தை காலையிலே நான் அனுப்பியிருக்கிறேன் சென்னை சிபிஐக்கு. தலைவர் நேற்று எழுதியிருக்காரு.
Let's now take a look at other national news making headlines in Nationwide. Asia's biggest onion market in Maharashtra sold the vegetable at a wholesale rate of 57 rupees per kg, raising fears of a further spike in retail prices across the country. In Delhi and other states, retail onion prices have already gone up to 80 rupees per kg. Prices shot up due to tight supply following shortfall in domestic output. The Consumer Affairs Ministry has repeatedly urged state governments to take action against hoarders and black marketeers. 8 people have died and 6 lakh have been affected by the worsening flood situation in Assam. The NDRF, Army, CRPF and villagers have been helping those affected in the rescue and relief operations. The Kaziranga National Park is submerged in floodwaters, with animals wading through it, fighting for their survival. The Red Horn Division of the Army has been on alert. The Army is working closely with the state administration. Elections to the Bengaluru Municipal Corporation has generated poor response from voters, with just 11% of the electorate coming out to vote till noon. All major parties, including the Congress, BJP and the Janata Dal, have fielded candidates in the 197 seats for the civic polls. Re-polling, if any, will be held on Monday and counting will be held on the 25th of August. Well, time for a very short break here, but coming up next, in a stern warning to Pakistan, the United States threatens to cut aid to the country if they fail to crack down on terror. Details when we return.
bring to you the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Bill 2012.
Isn't much that has changed about rescue and rehabilitation and enforcement of the Act.
Problematic areas where there is a proviso in the bill which allows children to work in family enterprises.
It's important to send the message home that children are not for use in labour processes.
Watch Law of the Land Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Tradition dating back centuries. A cultural heritage that inspires and warms at once. Magic that awes. Rajya Sabha television brings you events that embrace the wonders of India's classical arts. Conversations with the biggest names in the culture and music. Rajya Sabha television, democracy at work.
Welcome back. Well, the United States has warned Pakistan that it will withhold $300 million in military assistance if Islamabad does not do more to crack down on militants targeting US and Afghan troops in Afghanistan. Since 2002, Pakistan has received about $1 billion a year under a US program that aims to reimburse it for costs it has incurred while fighting militants near the Afghan border. Now, under a law passed last year, Washington must withhold some of those so-called coalition support funds if Pakistan does not take adequate steps to disrupt the Haqqani network. If the US penalty is imposed, it could further strain ties between Pakistan and the US. The US is hoping Islamabad will use its influence to get the Taliban and the Haqqani network to participate in peace talks with the Afghan government. And a possible deadly attack was prevented in a high-speed train bound for Paris when 3 Americans responded quickly. The incident happened when a gunman opened fire on a high-speed French train traveling from Amsterdam to Paris. Eyewitnesses said that the gunman emerged from the train's washroom with a rifle, possibly an AK-47 slung over his shoulder. French President François Hollande applauded the Americans who avoided serious damage when they overpowered the suspect. The Americans included a member of the Air Force, an inactive National Guard and a civilian. The suspect was later arrested. Moving on now to some news from Korea. Senior officials from North and South Korea met in the demilitarized zone village of Panmunjom to end a bitter standoff that could end up as an armed conflict. Even though results of the meet are sketchy as of now, a war seems to have been avoided.
South and North Korea sat today for an urgent top-level talks in the border village of Panmunjom. The two sides are trying to find a way out of an escalating crisis with militaries of both countries on standby for an armed conflict. The meeting at the demilitarized zone village was held half an hour after the deadline set by the North Korea for the South to halt its anti-Pyongyang propaganda broadcasts ended. That deadline, however, passed without any reported incident. Tension on the Korean peninsula has been running high since an exchange of artillery fire on Thursday.
우리 군대와 인민은 단순한 배웅이나 보복이 아니라 우리 인민이 선택한 제도를 목숨으로 지키기 위해 전면전도 불사할 입장이다.
North Korea fired 4 shells into South Korea in an apparent protest against broadcasts on Thursday. The South fired 29 artillery shells in retaliation. Pyongyang also accused the South of inventing a pretext to fire into their side.
지금 시민으로서는 굉장히 불안한 상태입니다. 북한 도발이 시작된 다음부터는 혹여나 길 가다가도 큰 소리가 나면은 이게 북한의 도발이 아닌지
걱정되는 부분들은 쟤네들이 사실적으로 도발을 했을 경우 어떠한 징후라든가 또 재산적인 인명적인 이런 피해가 없었으면 좋겠다는 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
Seoul had said it would continue the broadcasts unless the North accepted responsibility for landmine explosions this month in the demilitarized zone that wounded 2 South Korean soldiers, a charge that Pyongyang denies. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's take a look at some more international news in the Global Buzz. The The United States has said that the second-in-command of the Islamic State has been killed during a U.S. airstrike in Iraq on Tuesday. Fadil Ahmad al-Hayali, also known as Haji Mutaz, was in charge of the operations in Iraq and helped plan the group's offensive in Mosul in June last year. The White House said that his death will adversely impact the militant group's operations. Several people, including a senior military official, were killed after a suicide car bomb rammed into a Somali military training base in the city of Kismayu. Militant group Al-Shabaab took responsibility for the attack. Somali National Army, backed by African Union troops, had recaptured 2 towns from Al-Shabaab recently. Saudi-led coalition airstrikes has killed at least 65 people in the Yemeni city of Taiz. Most of those killed were civilians. Many victims were unable to reach hospitals as houses were reduced to rubble. Taiz, the third largest city of Yemen, has been the center of fighting between Houthi rebels and anti-Houthi forces over the last few days. Venezuela declared a state of emergency in a border region near Colombia following an attack by smugglers in which 3 soldiers and a civilian were injured. President Nicolas Maduro announced 60 days of martial law in 5 municipalities in the state of Táchira. He also said the closure of the border will be extended until further notice. Time for another very quick sports news to follow after this quick break.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Hello, I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
Together with the team of our
dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar,
Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back once again. Now on day 3 of the Colombo test, India leads the second innings by 157 runs as they scored 70 runs by stumps. India got off to a slow start as they lost their first innings centurion KL Rahul for just 2 runs. Ajinkya Rahane's 28 and Murali Vijay's 39 runs second wicket partnership gave the visitors an edge over the Lankans. Soon after, the team lost its first wicket on 3. Earlier in the day, resuming on the overnight score of 140 for 3, the hosts managed just 166 runs and were bowled out for 306 in their first innings. For India, spinner Amit Mishra was the most economical bowler as he took 4 wickets, sparing 43 runs. While Ishant Sharma and R. Ashwin claimed 2 wickets each, India lost the first test by 63 runs and are trailing 1-0 in the 3-match series.
And then a perfect line and then just a bit of...
There comes the...
And staying with some more sports news in SportsBeat. Top-seeded Indo-Swiss pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis have entered the semi-finals of the Cincinnati Open tennis tournament. The duo outplayed the American wildcards pair 6-4, 6-1. The pair will now fight it out with a duo from Taipei for a place in the finals. Sania Mirza is the only Indian left competing in the WTA Premier Tournament. Diana Pace and Rohan Bopanna were ousted from the men's doubles with their respective partners. Former Australian cricketer and member of the Invincibles, Arthur Morris, has passed away at the age of 93. Morris was regarded as one of Australia's greatest left-handed batsmen. An opener, Morris played 46 test matches between 1946 and 1955. He was best known for his role in Don Bradman's Invincible side, which made an undefeated tour of England in 1948. His 196 at the Oval remains the most forgotten century in the history of Test cricket, being at the non-striker's end when Donald Bradman made a duck in his final innings. Top seed Novak Djokovic avenged his French Open final loss to Stan Wawrinka by crushing the Swiss 6-4, 6-1 to reach the semi-finals of the Cincinnati Open. Djokovic, a 4-time runner-up in Cincinnati, broke Wawrinka's serve 4 times and dropped just 12 points on serve in his final tune-up event ahead of the US Open. The World Athletics Championships began in Beijing today. Jamaican superstar Usain Bolt will make his bow in the 100 meters heats on the opening day. Britain Mo Farah will bid for an unprecedented 6th consecutive global track distance title in the 10,000 meters. The opening day's action will feature 3 medal events. 17 Indian athletes will be seen in action in the championships. The Indian team, comprising 10 women and 7 men, will be competing in 9 events. Well, that's it we have for you in this edition. Thanks for watching.